Alright guys, something different for today. It is currently pissing down rain and I love the smell of rain. It's like rain on grass. I don't get to experience this and in the fucking city, so it's so nice to be here. While I'm here, I'm doing a few videos and today's is going to be client horror stories. As in, not horror stories of things clients have done to me, horror stories my clients have told me about their experiences with providers. This is because I feel like there isn't really a discussion around client safety. There is a lot of discussion around worker safety, and yes, we are the main target. However, things do happen to our clients too, and I just don't really see it spoken about a lot. So essentially, I'm going to share with you an assortment of those stories, and I'm going to try to save a lot of the, I guess, more extreme ones towards the end of the video. There is an incident that's going to be in this video regarding someone being held at knife point and somebody being drugged. So if you feel that these topics of conversation are going to be hard for you to watch or listen to, maybe you're a client yourself who's been through this or a worker who's been through this video may not be suitable for you, so please click off of it. Start with the basics. Obviously, there is a plethora of stolen deposit stories. This happens all of the time. This is a regular thing in the industry. I hear it every other day from one of my clients. They tried to see someone new, a deposit was stolen, etc. So I'm not going to harp on about that too much in this video, but I do want to say that that absolutely does happen. Another thing as well is workers not taking deposits but then also not showing up for the booking. For a lot of clients, this is incredibly frustrating because their time is pretty valuable. A lot of these guys are under the pump with the spare time that they have, and being fucked around like that is a big financial loss. As much as they haven't paid her a deposit for their time, other things they could have been doing, they've actually lost out on money by waiting around or going to this booking, and the worker never shows up. She's not there. Another one, again, the juicy stories are coming. We're getting the kind of basics out the way first. The OnlyFans ads on escorting websites. As in, you go on the ad and where it should have her phone number, it's got my website and it links you to OnlyFans. And then the worker, who doesn't even see people in person, is behind her OnlyFans account, encouraging you to keep tipping and spending more so that she'll actually take your booking. So you are there thinking, oh my god, I've really got to convince this girl, like she's so hot and what she's offering is such a bargain. I'm going to keep sending like $10 tip, $20 tip, I'll buy this video, I'll do a sexting session, I'll do a video call. Spending all of this money because you think that you're going to get offered the chance to see her in person. However, you never do. This has happened to one of my clients, and unfortunately a few others have got close to this happening to them and have reported back to me about it. So please just be careful, okay? It shouldn't be like that. You should just be paying a deposit for a booking. If they want you to jump through hoops and pay for a video call first and pay for a sexting session and buy a video and buy a nude, it's probably a scam. Next up, okay, we're getting into some of the more juicy stuff. One of my clients I've been seeing for a very long time, he likes to see a lot of different workers, okay? And he booked somebody, and her ad, she looks about my age now, right? Very, like late 20s, you know, young. He books this worker, pays the deposit, she does show up. She's not a scam, but she is 10 years older than the photos that he booked. And her body type is completely different to the body type that he had booked. So he's sort of in this situation being like, I don't actually think I'm attracted to this person, and now I've got to do the thing and I've already paid a deposit. So he did go ahead and he did finish the booking. However, this is something to be mindful of. I find it quite funny just because me and him have been seeing each other for a while, so we do laugh about it sometimes, but I'm sure this is not a laughing matter if maybe you can only afford to see a worker once a year and your once a year is wasted on an experience like this. Oh my gosh, okay, I have another one that I actually haven't thought about for a while. This was a client I only ever saw once, but he told me that he found me through social media and he felt safe to book me because of all of this. His first experience ever booking a worker, he paid a deposit, right? And it was a large deposit. It was like $400 and it was only for an hour. So we're talking like about half of the booking he's paid up front. She did arrive to do the booking and she was real and she did do the service. The issue was that she claimed that her pimp had taken the deposit and that she couldn't do the service until the entire amount was paid. So he then had to repay the entire booking even though he'd originally paid the deposit. So he was ripped off $400 on that service. And because he was a newbie and hadn't done it before, I think it was more of like, I'm sort of scared, like I really want to do this, and just went with it. And it wasn't until after the fact that he looked back and was like, wait a second, I just got scammed. All right, moving on to one of the worst stories, one where we're getting into the juicy stuff now. This is probably one of the worst stories that I have heard, and I'm gonna have to change a few details in this one for privacy reasons. This worker is a semi-big name in the industry still at the moment, not big on social media, big in terms of her reputation within the community. A client booked her for a 3-hour out call to a hotel, which she went to. She did show up. He paid her in full the remaining amount, so she had the almost $3,000 in payment for this multiple hour service. Pretty much immediately, with no time to spare after receiving the money, she started to throw a little bit of a tantrum, claiming that she felt unsafe for a variety of reasons, and proceeded to leave the booking. However, she did not refund any of the money at all, not even part of it. She took the money with her, left the booking. The client was left there like, what the fuck just happened? And given that he is very timid in nature, didn't go and like proceed with anything, didn't report it to anyone, did absolutely nothing about it. This worker walked off the job with $3,000, and he didn't get so much as even seeing her naked, kissing her, absolutely nothing. None of the service at all, not even part of it, was rendered during that booking. I can only imagine how that would feel as a client to be robbed of $3,000. It's not even like they were part into the booking and he had done something wrong. It was just straight up. It's just straight up blew up pretty much from the get-go. Oh, this is another one. I had a client mention this story to me only a couple weeks ago. He was a brand new client, and he said to me that he likes to test the workers and see how trustworthy they are. And I don't know what he'd done to me to test. I think he tried to overpay me and I gave back the money. Anyway, regardless, he said that one day he was doing an out call, multiple hour out call. The girl was at his house and he had a wallet on the floor. This wallet had a lot of cash, more than what she was owed for the booking. So I'm going to assume there was like multiple $1,000s worth of cash in his wallet. And because he'd taken his pants off to get his service, he kind of chucked them on the floor. They're doing the thing on the bed, and at that point in time, they're doing a bit of this action, in the mouth. She's down there going ham, but he noticed that her arm, she had one down here, but her other arm was sort of moving about. He thought it was really suspicious, and he's assuming that she believed he was too off his face, because he does like to party, too off his face to notice what she was doing. However, while she's, going ham on this, she was reaching the other arm down to the floor and flicking notes out of his wallet towards her. Now, I'm going to assume her intention was to knock them like under the bed so that he wouldn't see them and she could grab them at a later point in that booking and leave with them. The fact that somebody's wallet is not safe in a room, and that a provider thinks that it's okay to continue to take money that is not theirs and not even be focusing on the service that they're meant to be giving, the service that they've paid for. They're too busy, distracted, trying to steal a few $100 out of this guy's wallet. I have 3 micro story times left. There was another incident that a client told me about. I think I last saw him well over a year ago. I'm going to say a year and a half ago. And where he lives, what I do for work is not legal, okay? Now, he'd been seeing a provider regularly for a long period of time. He'd spent a lot of money on her, and I think he's just sort of the type of guy that prefers to get comfortable with one provider. Really, really lovely dude, by the way. So it got to a point where some things were happening between their client-provider relationship, and he no longer wanted to continue seeing her for a variety of reasons, and it shouldn't matter if he had reasons or not. He decided to end their business relationship. In response to this, because he had earlier provided her photo ID in order to see her in the first place, she blackmailed him and said that she would go to the authorities and post all over social media his photo ID. And we're talking about in a place where both the service itself and buying the service is not legal. He also has a very high profile job, so this would have really fucked him up big time. He ended up giving in, and he did actually pay her blackmail amount, the amount of money that she asked for. However, this is really scary that this can happen with clients' information. And in those kind of places where this work isn't legal, it's scary to think that he couldn't even go to the police because he would end up with charges, even though he hasn't really done anything wrong. This exact story is why I am no longer on my clients about giving me photo IDs. I only require them for private residence out calls, because I'm assuming that there are some men out there who've had experiences like this after providing their information. And I just don't think that having a photo ID really makes me that much more safe. Okay, we are on to the final and the most intense two. If you think you may be triggered by like conversations of being drugged or being held at knife point, then I would suggest clicking off this video now. So a client I've seen a few times, he is a very, would I say extravagant man? Blingy man, that's what I'm going to say. He's a very blingy man. He likes to wear a lot of designer items, particularly very expensive. We're not talking like this kind of value. We're talking like very expensive watches and things on his persons, as well as chains, that sort of stuff, right? So I hope we're getting the vibe of the context of the assets that he has on his body and wears on his body. He did an in-call booking with a provider he hadn't seen before, and it was quite late at night as well. And I believe from the way he told the story, I believe that he'd had at least a few drinks before arriving for that booking. When he arrived, the worker asked if he would like a drink, which I do at my bookings. I say, do you want a drink? And you know, go about getting them a water or alcohol or whatever it is. She'd done this. However, he wasn't watching what she was doing, and she actually spiked the drink that she made him. So this was not like a sealed beer can or a sealed glass of, like a sealed bottle of water, which I do recommend that clients are hyper vigilant on this when they're accepting a drink from a provider that they don't know. She made the drink, the alcoholic beverage, gave it to him. He proceeded to drink it, didn't notice anything funny about it, the same way women don't notice that their drink has been spiked when they're out clubbing and they end up in these situations. Next thing you know, he woke up and all of his designer items were missing. So essentially he had been drugged and robbed, which I don't think we really hear a lot of stories like this in Australia. We seem to think that the escorting space is super safe. And while in general I think it is, these things do happen. And I do think clients need to be a little bit aware that these things are a possibility and can happen, unfortunately. Like any industry, there are good eggs and there are bad eggs. And some people may not see their business as a business. They don't care about the long term. They're happy to trash their name and rob you in order to make a fast buck. One last one, and this was definitely the most extreme I have heard to date. This incident did not happen in Australia. It happened in another country where what I do for work is not legal. And I have seen this client a few times now as well. So on our first meeting, he told me about his horror story, and I can only imagine how hard that was for him to relive this. He paid a deposit and booked someone through an ad, perfect, showed up for the in-call. When he knocked on the door, the girl that answered was not the girl in the photos. However, he didn't really think too much of it, I think for a few reasons. From what I'm understanding, the girl was pretty hot that answered the door anyway, and I think he just thought, oh well, I'll have this one then, or possibly thought, I don't know, maybe she's in another room, because sometimes girls will work, like a couple girls from the same hotel room. Regardless of what went through his mind, he decided to go inside of that apartment, that hotel, and as he walked in and they closed the door behind him, I think he said he spotted two other girls sitting on the couch, neither of which were the girl from the ad. So he's just assumed that this is like a brothel kind of situation. There's just a bunch of girls working from the one room. So he said that he felt a little bit off, but he wasn't alarmed by this. He just assumed that the girl he booked was finishing up another booking, maybe in the shower or something like that, right? The girl that had opened the door directed him to the bathroom and said, oh, you can go in there and have your shower now. Like she'll grab you in a second, kind of thing. He's gone into the shower thinking nothing of it. And as he's closed the door, there were two girls behind the door. So he didn't see them when he walked into the room. They held him at knife point and proceeded to rob him. So he had cash on him for the booking. If I remember the story right, he also had cash there to extend the booking if it had gone well. So they've taken a few hours worth of booking from him. They also took anything of value that was on his person at the time. I can only imagine this would have been terrifying. And I'm sure a lot of you are, like, a lot of the men watching this are like, oh, well, wouldn't you just fight them off? They're just girls. Are you going to be able to fight off like 6 girls, one of which has a fucking knife at you, and you've got no weapons on you, you're just a dude? Like, you just walked in to have a good time and now you're being robbed. It's just been completely sprung on you. Like, especially in places where this work is not legal, it means that they can't report it. What would he do? Call the police? They'd say, what were you doing there? Right? Because he's not allowed to be there. He's not meant to be booking the service. They're not meant to be doing that job anyway. There is no protection for either party, for either side. And there we go, guys. That is it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed and I hope you have found this insightful. This video is not intended to trash the industry, to talk shit on the industry. I have spent most of my career trying to help within this industry. However, I don't think that it's fair that nobody is talking about what happens to clients here and there. I think that they deserve to hear about experiences that do happen within the industry, and I think that they can be safer if they are more aware of things that go on and possibly some red flags to be looking out for in these situations. My top tips for clients that I have learned from these kind of experiences, particularly the worser ones, is if you arrive and it is not the girl in the photo, please leave. Please just leave. It's not worth your life. Even if you paid a deposit, please just leave, okay? For your own safety. You don't know why they have done like a switch. You don't know why it's a switch and bait. Like, just leave, just leave. Secondly, I would be concerned about multiple girls being in the one property unless they have disclosed this to you ahead of time. It's not uncommon for 2 or 3 girls to work from the same hotel room or share an apartment space in order to work from. However, I think that they should be disclosing that to you before you arrive at the premises so that you know somebody else is there. The same way we ask for that kind of respect when we're going to an out call. We ask, is there anyone else at the property? I would prefer to know exactly who's going to be there so I can decide, does that sound safe or not safe? Should I do it? They should be doing the same thing for you. Only accept sealed drinks, including water, bottled water, bottled like soft drink cans, bottled alcohol that's sealed, and you either watch her if she pops it open for you or you pop it open yourself. If she doesn't have that kind of thing at her space, for example, when I go on tour, oftentimes I don't have access to cans and things like that, and I may have to get you water from the tap. Watching while I am filling that water, watching while I am making your drink, even if it's a situation where there is no option for a canned drink, watching, observing, keeping an eye on what she is doing. I don't think this happens all the time. I think it's quite a rare occurrence, but I do think that we need to be aware that it could happen. Anyway, apparently my allergies are flaring up, which is super hot and fabulous. I hope that you guys have enjoyed that, and please stay safe out there, guys, and I will be with you in the next video.